Okay guys, so I've made a cup of coffee, I've got myself organised and I've come back. So first off I'm going to wet my sponge. So a couple of squirts. Sometimes I do wet my split cakes, but if I'm using them all day like an event or a birthday party and everyone's picking the one colour, they tend to go quite soft. And recently when I've been buying tag lately, the pearl colours are quite soft. So yeah, I just, it's easy to spray your sponge. I don't do it all the time. Sometimes when I'm just at home, like usually if I was just practicing on my daughter, I would just spritz this. But I do sometimes a bit of both. These sponges I notice take a bit to, so sometimes I just press the sponge down, it soaks in the water a little bit more. But you don't want too much, so just a couple of squirts and see how you go. So I always like to put a lighter colour in the centre or at the start of your eye. It's sort of like an old wives' tale with your makeup. Always have your lighter and then your dark on the outside, so it makes that open-eyed effect instead of the dull, sleepy effect, which occasionally I look like anyway. So I'm just, sorry guys, I'm just wiping this backwards and forwards on here, trying to pick up the paint. I want a little bit more purple on there, so I'm just doing it how I think. So it kind of goes from light pink, pink, gold, and then to the purple at the end. So we'll give this a crack and see how this can go. I might just grab my mirror quickly because it's really hard to do this backwards and stuff. So bear with me. Okay, so I've got my mirror. It's just a cheap $2 one that I bought from like a $2 shop. Ours is called Zaniacs in Katanning. So got my sponge. I'm going to place it in the corner of my eye for the tip, and then just pretty much just dab down. So I'll do it so you can kind of see, and I can see. This is going to be weird. So bear with me, guys. So on a sort of angle, I'm not sort of going right to the end of my eyebrow. I don't know if you call it a 45-degree angle, but it's sort of cutting through my eyebrow, so it's going to have that nice out shape instead of like an up and down type of style. So that's just one push of the sponge, and that's the nice little shape you get. So you can imagine on me, because I've got a bigger face, but on a little child, these sponges are so cool, and you've pretty much got like a perfect butterfly wing. So because my head's obviously bigger, I'm going to just dab this around a little bit more, just stippling it, patching it, getting the corner in nicely so it almost looks like I have a sort of nice eyeshadow coverage. So there's one wing. Now for the bottom, because I'm chatting away as I usually do, I'm just going to spritz that again and load my sponge again and do the bottom wing. So I'm just doing that again, sliding it backwards and forwards, picking up the paint where I want it. And I will do just the bottom wing. So I'm pretty much going to put the corner, pretty much sitting it in like this. So it's almost flat along there, but it's still coming down an angle. So it's almost following my natural, oh, this is so weird having the camera like this. It's almost following my natural sort of, lines down on my face. So push that down and dab that on. And that's the wing you get just by dabbing it like that. So I'm going to fiddle around with it a tiny bit more and get the purple on there a bit more. And I might try and close this area up just a little bit more so it's not so open. Like that. Cool. Okay, that's part done. I'll get rid of that. Okay, so you guys are probably thinking, what's she going to use the angle brush or just a 1/2 inch flat brush for? So this is what I'm going to do the wings with. So you can do any colour you like. I might do I might just do it all in black, I think. So I'm going to just quickly spritz my black paint. Usually I just dip my brushes in the water, otherwise my paints get really gloopy, but I haven't used them all day today, so they're fine. So I'm just loading up my brush with the black, making sure it's not too runny and not too gloopy, kind of in between. And there we have it. So I've only used the angled brush a couple of times. Usually I do use my flat brush. If you haven't got an angled brush, sort of like a 1/2 inch size, just use your flat brush. And to do your first line, I'm going to do a line coming from here and up. To do your first line, just hold your brush pretty much like this against your face and do a slight line up there. So you're going to get a couple of thick bits and the thin bit at the end in both tips, and it looks kind of really nice and funky. So, and then pretty much I'm grabbing my brush and then wiggling and scraping in, wiggling and scraping in, and wiggling and scraping in for a fatter type of wing effect. So I've got my angle brush and I'm putting it towards my corner. I'm not going to go right into the center of the eye with the lines. I'm coming just underneath my eyebrow, so by the time I'm finished, it's going to be sort of a trip to the eye, as if you have come right in, but you haven't. It's going to be bare there, so just to keep the butterfly looking delicate and sort of less is more kind of approach. So starting just under the eyebrow, I'm going to lightly push down a little bit harder and then lightly lift up. So my tip at the top's not the greatest tip, but that doesn't matter because I'm covering that up anyway with the next strokes I do. So it's kind of thin to thick through the eyebrow to get that paint in, and then it goes thin again. So, and if you notice, I haven't come right into the center there. It just kind of looks like it's self fading away. So right, now you can point your angle brush downwards like that or have it up like that. I think it's weird. I think it works better downwards, which is weird because you think you would be dragging it and making the brush fatter, but it seems to work. So laying my brush on the side like this, I might try and move closer. This is so weird. So it's laying down the side like that, and I'm going to wiggle, 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 and then slide my brush through my eyebrow. So I'll just put my eyebrows back because they look like man eyebrows now. So, and that's pretty much what I'm doing around the whole butterfly. So we're going to do it again, but this time I'm going to come out a little bit further than the side, just to add that interest instead of having it all equal. So then I'm going to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle and slide in. Just do a little one. And then might come back in again closer to the purple. Wiggle, wiggle, slide in. And as you can see, I'm running out of paint on my brush. So I'm going to quickly dip my brush in the water, get a tiny bit more back on there, and do the last stroke. So I'll come back in a little bit more again, wiggle, 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 and gently slide that near the corner of my eye, so it's almost like a eyeliner. So I'm just going to tidy up these little bits because they look a bit sort of jaggedy. I'm just slightly pressing that down on top of that, so I think that looks pretty cool there. So the next step, if you wanted to, get a deerfoot brush, or if you've got a scrubby brush that you use, or even just a round brush, something that's sort of not perfectly shaped, and you could then drag your black into your paint if you guys wanted to do that. But that would be the next step after that. So I'm not doing that today. I'm just doing it pretty simply. So more black on my brush. I'm re-dipping it into my paint. And I like to keep wells in the bottom of my paint. So that's pretty much just plastic there. But it's still picking up enough paint for me to use how I like it. So, and then I've got heaps obviously of paint around the edges, but I can make a little well in there so I can have it as soupy or as watery or as thin of a paint consistency that I like. So the white one's probably easier to see. You can see the plastic through that. So I do the same with my white. So pretty much the same idea for the bottom. I'm going to lightly drag, push, and then lift up again for the bottom. So not quite in the corner of the eye, sort of halfway down. Push, lift up. And you get this nice sort of tiger striped effect. So same thing, I'm going to wiggle, wiggle and push. But not as many wiggle, wiggles and pushes on the bottom wing to make the effect of if it's less detail. So, oh, can you guys see? I can't. So I'm wiggling, 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 push, wiggling, 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 wiggling. I might drag it instead of pushing it because it's weird doing it this way. And I might just take a cheat and wiggle it down that way. Fix those little bits up. Okay, so that's what it kind of looks like if you don't come in and out like I did up here. It's kind of one way the whole way around. Yeah, so that's pretty much half the side of the butterfly you have there. I've got a bit of a gap here, which I don't actually like. I should have brought my colour down a bit more. But if you wanted to fix that, if you did that as well, smash some teardrops in there and that'll fill in that little bit of a gap, or put some eyeliner on the eye and give it the cat's eye flick to fill that in. So the next step would be, as usually, I forget to add the glitter, but I'll do that on the next one. I'm going to grab my number 4 because I like using my number 4s for dots. And I've wet my brush. And this is the Loew Cornell number 4 7000 series. And I'm just using my Wolf White. I'm mixing that around in there on the edge to try and get my soupy consistency. Rolling my brush to keep it a nice point. And then I'm going to re-dip it into my paint so I have that nice bubble on the end like I showed you in the rainbow tutorial. So now I'm just going to add some random dots, big and small, because it adds interest to the eye, looks interesting instead of trying to get them all the same size. And I'm going to add some dots around the edge of my butterfly wings. So big, little, and little kind of thing. One down the bottom and a fat one there. And I might put 2 there, and I think that's enough for that wing. So I'm re-dipping into my gloop of paint again to get that bobble on the end of my brush so it's not pointy. And I'm going to do the same with the bottom. So push, just like that. So now we have this cool little butterfly. And I think it looks pretty cool. So, and it's not huge, it doesn't take up my whole face, it's nice and dainty. So now if you wanted to leave this space as it is, I usually do. If you wanted to be funky, I'm going to take my number 2 Loew Cornell 795 and just lightly dip it into my black paint so it's almost like a water mix really, because I'm not worrying about it too much. And I'm just going to add some little dots or some teardrop dots just to show you what it looks like filling that bit in. So dot, dot, dot. And dot, dot, dot. So you can see I haven't joined them up. Can you hop out, please? And shut the door for Mummy. Shut the door for Mummy. So as you can see, I haven't joined the dots up. I've gone this way for these ones to come out pointing towards my nose, and these ones are coming up almost pointing to my opposite eyebrow so they don't join, just to add that different effect of interest so they don't look like it's like squashing the wing in. So give it a few ideas, guys. Try different things, what works, what doesn't work for you, what you think looks cool. You could add some teardrops falling down if you wanted to. You could add some bigger and fatter dots like the wings if you wanted to. or you could just join them up with a nice sharp point and see what that looks like. But this is what I do. So I'm going to rinse off that black, but I didn't need to because that's what I'm using for my body. So I'm re-dipping my brush into my black, which is the number 2 Low Canal yellow handle. And I'm going to do my bodies and show you how I do my bodies. So if you guys are like me when you first started, you've got these big huge bodies of butterflies on your faces. So don't stress, I did the same thing until looking at heaps of pictures on the internet, Faber TV, YouTube, just looking at everybody's work. I pretty much just copied what everybody else was doing and found out I think that looks nicer. So again, this is all my opinion, guys. You might think your butterflies suck. Yeah, you don't have to do this at all. This is just to help out you beginners and to try new things. So I do a little dot, and depending on what type of gems I have at the time, I can fit one of my 6mm gems in there, or even a small 2mm gem, and you'll see the black outline on the outside, whichever one you seem to pick. So I think that looks nice as well. So I've got a little dot, and I either do a series of dots going from obviously the head, the biggest, to the smallest for the tail, for the butterfly body, or I'll do a little teardrop for the butterfly body. So today I might just show you the dots, and I'll put a little teardrop at the bottom. And for the wings, you can either do a teardrop, thin to thick, antenna things coming out of the head, whatever you call them, or you can do the swirls. Sometimes I like to do the love heart swirl, and you can do those nice and big because the butterfly you have done is quite dainty and small. So I will show you on one side what that looks like, and then the swirl on the other. So I'm pretty much just going to do a teardrop, kind of backwards teardrop. And there's for your little butterfly body, head and antenna thingies. So that looks pretty sweet and innocent. So I'm going to get a baby wipe and rub that off, and I will show you the swirly design. So I'm just wiping that off. Okay, so I've wiped that off. I'm just quickly loading my brush again, getting a nice point on the end of my brush, and I will show you the swirls. So swirl in like that. And now this side I'm going to do it bigger so it looks like an off wobbly kind of weird heart shape. Oops. And then that side. So you can see I've pressed a little bit hard on this side, guys, but that's pretty much how I do my butterfly wings. This one obviously is not as thin as I'd like it to be, but that's sort of how I do it. So there's a bigger and smaller heart. Next time I will wipe that off when I do show you the other side, and I'll do the nicer, try and do a nicer antenna. But that's pretty much it. So I like to put a little, I can't even see it, like to put a little gem here. And that looks really cute, and you can put some gems on the butterfly wings as well if you like. So that's it for this side, and I will cut and edit the tape, the video for the next side.